You absolutely have to vote for Trump. Somebody's like, I couldn't vote for a rapist. I couldn't give a shit, mate.
Guess who just called into Turf Talk to bring up my criticisms of Kellie-Jay Keen's Zionism? There was obviously many, many more questions I wanted to ask, many different directions that I could have taken the conversation in. I think given the limited time, I did pretty good in that I at least established the argument that Kellie-Jay Keen has created a sacred caste of men in Zionist men, in that she won't criticize anything they do up to and including child sexual abuse unless it's of a scale bigger than what she imagines happened on October 7th. Not what can be proven, but what she could imagine might have happened, whereas I obviously will only be able to present things that can clearly be proven. Yeah, she started off like, oh, anyone who has a disagreement or wants to call up and challenge me on something, here's the place to do it.
If you have any questions, queries, or comments or criticisms, this is the place to do it. Put your big girl pants on.
And then very quickly was laughing as she hung up on me because she knew that she couldn't continue.
It's like,
could we do this for longer? I would pay you to do a longer interview where I could show you videos and show you.
I've seen everything. Thanks so much.
Exactly.
Oh, he's gone. What a shame.
Because she knew that her arguments only stand for as long as the shock of the atrocity propaganda that she's peddling in lasts. But if you get a chance to think about what she's saying or contextualize it to any degree, it completely falls apart, which is why she will resist to the nth degree having any sort of like longer discussion where she can't just make the other person disappear if they start to ask awkward questions.
I've seen everything. Thanks so much.
Exactly.
And the reason why this is relevant to Let Women Speak is because this is increasingly influencing the content of Let Women Speak contributions. So you're increasingly getting people hopping up and making these anti-Islam kind of diatribes, which really has nothing to do, in the same way an anti-Zionist diatribe really has nothing to do with gender identity. But yeah, increasingly people are getting up and parroting the uninformed things Kellie-Jay Keen is saying, and even at the last Speaker's Corner, she made a specific point to make the Speaker's Corner event interact with the other people at Speaker's Corner, like the other religious men, essentially, which is fine, but you can tell the reason that she, well, you don't even have to tell. Her argument for doing so was because if we don't do this, then if we don't raise our voices when we can, then that lets down all the women in the third world who can't raise their voices. Except she doesn't just say the third world or something like that. She names specific countries, which is interesting. So she'll go like Afghanistan or Iran, because these are countries that are US enemies, whereas she would never say Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is close to Israel, and so they can cut off as many heads as they want. They're never going to get criticized in the same way as other places might. And so, yeah, this does actually impact Let Women Speak. And another way that you can clearly see it impacting Let Women Speak is Muslims are like 5% of the population, I think, in the UK. And I've never seen a woman in a hijab even attend, I think, a Let Women Speak demonstration. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but let alone speak at one. And given that the Muslim community has, in general, a stronger opposition to gender identity than, say, the West in general, you would think that you would have that a truly bipartisan, non-faith organization, as Let Women Speak is sometimes presented as being.
We are here as women and men from all sides of the political aisle and none, from all religions and none,
would be able to mobilize this population that has a great discontent with gender identity, but for some reason, it seems not a single Muslim woman wants to attend these demonstrations. Could that have to do with the fact that when Kellie-Jay Keen saw a video on Twitter about a woman who had to collect little pieces of her children.
من وين جاي؟ أنا جاي من غزة، جريحة في مصر. ابني استشهد، وبنتي الصغيرة استشهدت، عمرها سنة و10 شهور، وابني عمره 8 سنين. ابني ما له أثر، طبعا لقوه مش عارف لحمة متفتفت، أنا ما شفتهمش. زوجي أخذ شظية براسه، قاعد في العناية أسبوع. أنا كنت مكسور ظهري، طلعوني من تحت الردم، كنت تحت الركام، فطلعت ما حاسة في إشي في جسمي. فسمعت صوت بنتي الكبيرة عمرها 9 سنين، فكانت تبكي. مش عارفة أوصف لك، حتى وأنا بطوف في الكعبة وأنا بلف حوالين الكعبة، والله أولادي في السماء حوالي الثلاث، وأنا بدعي لهم وهم حوالي. أنا فرحانة، بس هي الفرحة نقصانة لمة أولادي، لمة العيلة، اللمة اللي كنا نلتمها كل خميس، القعدة اللي كنا نقعدها يعني بين العيلة. أولادي الليل مثلا بيجي أنام في الليل بفتكرهم، يعني بناموا في حضني، يعني بنتي الصغيرة دائما في حضني.
And she described them as having been martyred. Kellie-Jay Keen responded by saying something to the effect of, "Oh my God, who calls their children martyred?" Like, such compassion for, yeah, as I say, a woman who's just collected little pieces. You want to talk about mutilated children? Imagine collecting little pieces.
Put your big girl pants on.
Exactly.
Oh, he's gone. What a shame.
To learn who rules over LWS, simply find a group of male soldiers who are kidnapping a 7-year-old girl who at the Posie Parker will not criticize.
Put your big girl pants on. I couldn't give a shit, mate.
Just while this is happening, I want to say, remember in New Zealand when the police came in and tried to arrest that woman for misgendering a police officer, and Posie Parker was like, "Oh, it's the end of the world," which it was. It was an egregious violation of human rights, but so is this.
Put your big girl pants on. Put your big girl pants on. How annoying. How annoying is that?
I think what happened on October 7th was an absolute atrocity, was 1,000 atrocities. I think at the same time we condemn those atrocities, we have to condemn the atrocities that happen every day to Palestinians in the West Bank. You mentioned sexual violence. I was part of the human rights vetting process for arms going to Israel, and a charity called Defense of Children International Palestine drew our attention at the State Department to the sexual assault, actually the rape of a 13-year-old boy that occurred in an Israeli prison in the Mosque in Jerusalem.
How annoying.
We examined these allegations. We believe they were credible. We put them to the government of Israel. And you know what happened the next day? The IDF went into the DCIP offices and removed all their computers and declared them a terrorist entity.
How annoying is that? I think we're the only people I think I'm the only person. I'm going to say this anyway. I'm going to make this claim that both talks here on Spaces and at the same time publishes it like a video to X and on Twitch and on Facebook and on YouTube. So welcome. As per I'm sure you all know lots of people like talking about me, attributing things to me, and I'm just saying to those people, if you have any questions, queries, or comments or criticisms, this is the place to do it. Put your big girl pants on, or grab yourselves by the proverbials, and you can ask your questions here, whatever they are. You can ask your questions. And unlike the Liberal Party leadership down in Australia, I will just give you a straight answer. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? So yeah, it's very exciting. Very, very exciting. Look, if you want to speak, for God's sake, on Spaces, just put your hand up, request, and you will be granted permission. I can take that permission away if you annoy me. But otherwise, it is let women speak. And I will even let the penis havers have a turn.
Hi. My name is Rob. It's the second time I've called in. I'm a long-time supporter. And yeah, I just want to say that I have had, I guess, political differences with things that you've done more recently, but regardless, the things that you've done and continue to do, but like the tour of Australia, the standing down the mob in New Zealand was just like superhero kind of level performance. And like I went to 2 of the events in Australia and I was exhausted, and I could tell seeing you in Tasmania that you were kind of cracking a bit in a way that you weren't at the other events. And I was just like, yeah, how could you not be this far into like such a stressful tour? So
you're not going to be able to get away with you disagree with what I'm doing and some sort of vague criticism. Do you want to say what that is?
Oh yeah. So definitely, there's a few different things, and this might take up some time, and so I would definitely like invite you if you want to do an interview at some point. I would happily contribute.
I'm really good at being concise, so you can say what you need to, and I will answer.
Sure. Okay. So there's some pressing things that I want to talk to you about that aren't the political thing. So I just wanted to ask you about the did you know that did you remember that in May of last year, J.K. Rowling made a post where she kind of suggested that she would, or fairly strongly implied that she would financially back you in a defamation case?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever pursue that?
I did that defamation case without needing anybody's money. And won.
Right. Okay. Cool. Did you, because I think that it seems like Angie would need some help at the moment in terms of she's trying to get like right of reply with a bunch of journalists in Australia at the moment, and doesn't seem to have the connections to kind of get the lawyers to sort of pressure what I think is her actual legal right. So if there was some way to kind of like make that connection and get her the kind.
I don't have any capacity to introduce anyone to anyone. I certainly don't have any capacity to introduce anyone to J.K. Rowling just because she wanted to stand up for a woman who was being defamed by a newspaper in the UK. So, no. Is that a difference? Is that an issue you have with me? That
no. Okay. I was just wondering that thing. Okay. The difference has basically been around around October 7th and the kind of more pronounced what I would call pro-Zionist kind of position that you've taken.
You mean the rape and torture of women? You don't think I should object to that? Don't think I should object to men going in and raping and torturing women?
No, of course you should object to that. That's a war crime, obviously, and the people who did that should be prosecuted for it. The issue
tricky when they're working for the UN, though, isn't it? It's a bit tricky when they're involved in charities and things, and ignored, and people deny that those women were raped, and they deny that then those women were taken across the border with their broken and bloodied bodies, which we all see, and we can all really, for women, that's like our biggest fear, right? That some man would overpower us and rape us, and then celebrate and spit on our body and take us through the streets, and like in the medieval times, and everybody would celebrate. Like that would really, to the core, petrify most women. But yes, do carry on, because I'm sure you're going to get on to where I think you're going. So you carry on.
Sure. Actually, yeah. So I think
Oh, actually, can I just ask, because you use the word Zionist. Hang on. You use the word Zionist, and I just want to clarify what you mean. You mean believing that Jews should have a homeland? Is that what you mean by Zionist?
No.
What do you mean?
Well, there's two kind of schools of Zionism. There's the older, more numerous Christian Zionism, which predates what's called political Zionism, which is what we would understand to be the project of creating the modern state of Israel.
Yeah.
So the Christians, when they support Zionism, it's actually in a kind of like apocalyptic way that doesn't actually look too kindly.
Zionist, so what did you mean in that? Because I don't need two versions of the same word. What did you mean when you used it?
Well, I meant the political Zionism that has explicitly, from its beginning, commissioned the British government on the basis that it is an imperial project and that it would like to colonize, and it specifically uses the word colonize.
Yeah, who would do that? I mean, who would colonize anywhere? Seems a terrible thing. I mean, it seems like a human history thing, but it seems like something that people have always done, doesn't it? Okay, so just get to the point.
Sure,
so
but hang on. This is my key problem, that you have created a protected class of men, essentially, in Zionist men, because I have presented, hang on, please let me finish. I have presented multiple examples to you of men who are either Zionist protesters or IDF soldiers attacking individual women. So it's not a case where you can go, oh, well, Hamas forced them to bomb the hospital for the 5th time. Instead, it's a case of...
Hezbollah, then? Are you saying that you... No, because I'll just mute you. I'll just mute you, if you like.
Instead,
I will just mute you or remove you. So when I speak, I speak. It's called let women speak, not let a man drone on for hours. So I'm just saying to you that those women, those people in Israel had the most egregious, despicable, disgusting, violent act. And there are still hostages in Gaza. Now, if we want everything to stop, why don't we just free the hostages? And if you're so moved by the violence of men, then I'm sure you are absolutely littered with what's going on in Bangladesh, what's going on throughout Nigeria and other parts of Africa for Islamic Jihad. I'm sure you've got absolutely bloody loads about the Yazidi Jews. I'm sure there's loads of stuff. Or is it just the Jews? Because I'm feeling it's just the Jews.
No, of course not. No, of course not. But the thing is that you have created a protected class of men who are allowed to violence against people without you calling them out, because is part of the political project to make it seem as though Israel doesn't commit the same, isn't part of the same violence
Show me
against
the
women.
massacre.
That all other
Show me the massacre where the Israelis went in to a fucking music festival and killed and raped and tortured children in front of their parents. You show me that.
I
You
can
show me an
tell
episode.
you-
No, I'm
I
still
can
talking.
tell
I'm
you-
still talking. You show me that. You show me an episode where we can all see that for ourselves, where regular citizens are spitting on the bodies of broken, bloodied bodies of women, right? Paraded round like we're in the medieval times, and I might give you the time of day. But until you can do that, and when you're talking about soldiers, and when you're talking about bombs, and when you're talking about who has a right to exist, I think people in Israel have a right to exist, whether they're Arabs, whether they're Muslims, whether they're Jews. I think, or Christians. I think they have a right to exist in a democratic society, which Israel is. And I can't get on board this idea that until those hostages are released, that I can really have anything to say about this that talks about equal sides. Nobody wants anyone to be killed. And if anybody doesn't want to be killed, I suggest they release the hostages. But thank you so much for talking. It's been a pleasure. But I fundamentally think you're absolutely wrong, and I think you have no understanding of what it's like.
Could we do this
to
for longer?
that.
I would pay you to do a longer interview where I could show you videos
I don't
and
want to see
show
anything.
you
I've seen everything. Thanks so much.
exactly.
Oh, he's gone. What a shame. If you have any questions, queries, or comments or criticisms, this is the place to do it.
Could we do this
To
for
see
longer?
that.
I would pay you to do a longer interview where I could show you videos
I don't
and
want to see
show
anything.
you
I've seen everything. Thanks so much.
exactly.
Seen everything. Thanks so much.
Exactly.
Oh, and unlike the Liberal Party leadership down in Australia, I will just give you a straight answer. Isn't that great?
And this goes further into her thing about like, oh, I'll talk to anyone. I'll talk to anyone. No, she won't. There are other left-wing people who are anti-trans, who she doesn't look to make connections with, because she knows if I make connections with them, they're going to challenge me on all my other shitty ideas. Whereas if I try to make connections with right-wing people, they're going to support all my other shitty ideas and reinforce what's going on. And so what that does is it takes it from being a single issue bipartisan movement to being essentially another part of the culture war, no different from Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or someone like that, who's never going to have the appeal to change anything. They're just going to be like culture warriors that are only ever heard by one side. In addition to which, you will have heard that I offered her money. And I'm talking about hundreds of dollars. I didn't get to say that at the time, but I am talking about hundreds of dollars. I will try to set up a what we'll call Posie's Big Girl Pants Fund. So it can increase in amount and she can get more and more embarrassed that she isn't able to have a simple conversation, and with that simple conversation take hundreds of dollars back to Let Women Speak. So when she's saying, we make every little, please buy my merchandise, we make every little cent stretch as far as we possibly can, she's got hundreds of dollars sitting on the table that she won't take because she knows her position on Israel wouldn't survive even a single long-term interview where she wasn't able to make the other person disappear.